Okay, so to continue, the other way ideographs are formed is to add an abstract symbol to a pictograph. For example, the word 刃 was formed by adding an abstract dot to the pictograph 刀 to show the sharpest point of a knife. Adding a dot to the pictograph 口 to show the tongue tasting something makes the word 干 sweet. The ancient Chinese added an abstract sign to the pictograph of a man with his arms and legs spread wide open to form tian to refer to the sky above our heads. The character 寸 was formed by adding an abstract sign to the bottom left of the pictograph 手 to refer to an inch below the palm, the place where traditional Chinese doctors felt to take the pulse of their patients. Use of this character has since evolved to refer a unit of measurement, the inch. Combinations of pictographs and ideographs. With the development of Chinese civilization, thoughts and ideas that needed to be conveyed became more complex. Thus, when the time came that pictographs and ideographs were not enough, a new type of character appeared that combined the meaning of two or more elements to form a new meaning. For example, the character 日 and the character 月, sun and moon, were put together to form the character 明, which means bright, or as you know, 明天, tomorrow, right? Because tomorrow is after a sun and a moon has passed by. So here are some examples of these combinations. And just so you know, with these combinations, some of these are actual characters on their own, but some of them we do not use, right? So, and of course, as you know, we do need to put context with these other characters. So show on its own does mean to rest, but we also say 休息 to take a break, right? Like 头脑休息 brain break. 所以人加木等于修，房子的屋顶和女等于安，女和子是好，王和木是忙，少和力是烈，手和目是看，心和忠是忠 loyalty, right? So if your heart is in the middle, that means your heart is in the center and the right place. Not literally, right? But if your heart is in the right place, then you are a loyal person. 日和一就是旦 dawn. Okay. 人加木等于修 Okay, basic strokes. As you learn to write Chinese characters, the first thing to know is how to make strokes. The strokes are very important because they do show how the characters are composed and enable you to write the characters more easily. And of course, I understand if you are a lefty, 我也是, me too, right? There are 8 basic strokes that are commonly used. They're as illustrated as follows. 横, the horizontal stroke can be either short or long. The stroke is written from left to right, not the other way around. It really does make a difference. And I will tell you that I do not have good handwriting in Chinese, but when I teach you and when we do and did calligraphy, right, there's a proper order to everything, okay? 一, 二, 王, 树, always write the vertical stroke from the top downward. 十, 公, 中, 撇. This stroke is used in different lengths and angles, but all are only variations of the basic way of writing the stroke. Write the stroke from the top right to the bottom left. And again, I think this book is pretty helpful in terms of showing you how the font should look like when you are writing. It is a little bit different than the computer font that is typed out, right? This calligraphy font, it looks different, okay? Or it should. 大, 牵, 手, 捺. There are 2 forms of the stroke, slanted and flat. Write the stroke from the top left to the bottom right. 人八这 点, the dot takes on many forms as illustrated. 星六 金. It's a little bit hard to demonstrate when you are using a pen or pencil, which is how we write. But when you see it like this, right, it should look like a dot, but you don't have to round it or color it in, right, when you're writing, because when you're writing, it's different. 提, make the rising stroke from the bottom left to the top right. Go, make a small tick at the end of a stroke. It's like a little hook, right, as you see here. 折, make a turn at a certain section of a stroke. Okay, so there are angles, right? Stroke order. When writing Chinese characters, it is important to use the correct stroke order. The following rules for stroke order should be observed. Horizontal, then vertical. Okay, 时, 干. It would help, by the way, if you have a tablet or an iPad so that you can practice writing with your stylus. right? Or you can practice writing in your notebook that I suggested that you should all have, okay? Top first, then bottom. 二五 left slanted first, then right slanted. 八人 left first, then right. 川人 center first, then both sides. 小木 and remember, right, everything has proportion. So that is why when I was asking you to get a notebook, I asked you to get a wide rule or graph paper or whatever you have that is preferably with boxes so that you can really see how your proportion of your character should look like. If you look, it's actually very faint, but you can see right here, right, where I've zoomed in so far, this character one, look at how there are lines here to guide you, right? If you and I know I would always exaggerate this, right, because I like to joke about it, but if you make this top stroke all the way out, right, all the way here, from here to here, that is not a character anymore. That is a drawing, right? It is a writing system, so there are rules to this, right? Just like crossing your T's, and sometimes at least, right, maybe dotting your I's. I don't dot my I's, but I do when I write cursive, right? But you do have to cross your T's, right? Otherwise people don't know that you're writing the letter T. Okay, so make sure that you know how to do that in Chinese characters as well. When making a dot, ooh, typo, write it first if it is positioned on the top or upper left. When it appears on the upper right or in the middle, write it last. 文斗犬叉 I hope some of these sounds, actually all of these sounds, are very familiar to you, and some of these characters as well, or at least the strokes should be very familiar to you by now, right? 应该都很熟悉. With closed characters, make the outside strokes left, top, right, then the strokes in the middle, then the bottom stroke that closes the character, right? So see how it kind of looks like you're making pictures within boxes, right? You do need to start from the outside and then go inside. With semi-closed characters, there are three different stroke orders. This first one is strokes in the middle before surrounding strokes. 胸, yan, surrounding strokes before strokes in the middle. 同, si, top before middle before lower left. 批, 降. Okay, simplify radical chart. This chart includes many radicals, and the most common ones are in red, 红色的, followed by the alternative form in parentheses. The numbers 1 through 12 represent the number of strokes, okay? So at the very, very least, right, you don't need to know how to pronounce these radicals, but you should recognize them and you should see them, right? One of the easiest ones that I think you will see here is this one, 火, fire, which we talked about during the food unit. But a lot of these other ones, again, are very, very common. That is why they're in red, right? I can tell you that with this language, right? 很多时候我可能不会发音，可是我懂它的意思。So a lot of times maybe I don't know the pronunciation, but I know what it means, especially given the context of the radicals and of the other characters. Combinations of radicals and phonetics. Characters consist of a radical indicator and a phonetic indicator. Radicals represent a word's meaning or category. The phonetic element gives a word its sound. 女人这里和马是妈，木和财是财，水和羊是羊，像海洋，盐和己是记，记得，心和香是想，人和主是住。So, especially for this one, I really like this, right? I love this language. Obviously, as you know, I love languages. But if you look at this one, right, 想, that means that when you think, right, it's very poetic if you think about it, because it means that you have to think with your heart. I know you literally think with your brain, but if you want to really have some deep thoughts, right, deep thoughts, you have to think with your heart, okay? That's where your deep thoughts are coming from, okay? So it's very poetic that way. 词和字, 字和词. The noun 字 character is comprised of one character and sometimes has an independent meaning. Each 字 is one syllable. 词, a word, may be comprised of one or more 字. Therefore, 词 may be one or more syllables. Most 词 in Chinese are composed of two 字, right? As you know, Chinese people would like our words in twos, in pairs. I've told you a lot about that in class. So whenever we have 每日一词, right, word of the day, it was usually more than one character, right? So 你 is one character, which means you. But 你好, you good, means hello, as a whole word. Here are some examples of 词 as one character, two characters, and three characters. 人, 狗, 书, 学生, 冷气, 早上. 图书馆, 篮球场, 幼儿园. And I love how, we're not reinventing the wheel here, right? Just like any other people, Chinese people are also pretty lazy too. So air conditioner, of course, is not something that was invented thousands of years ago, right? So the word air conditioner literally means cold air, 冷气, right? 早上 is morning, right? But literally means above in the morning, okay? Early in the morning, I guess. 图书馆 is a place for books and picture books, literally. 篮球场 basketball area or court. 幼儿园 a garden of children, right? Like kindergarten, okay? Many of the 25,000 or so individual characters 字 are combined to create compounds perceived as single words, and a 字 may or may not retain its original meaning when used in a compound. For example, 中国高兴说话吃饭毛笔天气 So again, it's really cool, right? If you actually understand how the language works, because 吃饭 does mean to eat, but it literally means eat rice, because rice is a staple in my culture, right? Just as it is for some of your cultures as well, like, bread or pasta, right? 毛笔 literally means writing brush made of fur. 天气 literally means the air of the sky, right? Okay. The importance of proportion, and I talk about all the time. So this textbook is just confirming what I tell you all the time and you have heard before. Chinese words may look complicated, but in fact their structures are logical and easy to analyze. Chinese characters are called square characters, meaning no matter how simple or complex, each character fits inside a square. They can be divided into four main structures, which are listed below. Once these four structures are mastered, the makeup of Chinese characters will be much more familiar and less intimidating to you. These structures will not only help you memorize characters, but also reduce problems with missing dots or strokes when writing. Understanding these structures will make even complex characters easy to remember. And remember, we are learning simplified Chinese, which is already literally simpler, right? If you want to learn traditional Chinese, which is what I grew up learning, be my guest, but it is more challenging. So we're going to focus on the simplify. And this textbook actually does have both simplify and traditional. So it's all up to you. But you will see as we're learning the new vocab, right? You'll see how they organize it. All right. Characters should be written with a sense of symmetry and proportion. A character can be formed as a one character fit. Oh, 对不起, as one picture character or two picture character, or three picture character or a four picture character. One picture characters fit inside a square. There are two possibilities for dividing a square for two picture characters. Three picture characters come in 5 different patterns. The square for four picture characters can be divided in 3 ways. Understanding how to mentally plot out a character within a square will give you one of the fundamentals needed for effective written communication in Chinese. And as you know, right, 今年我们会重视阅读和写字. This year we will focus on reading and writing much more than before. Okay? 跟以前不一样。所以我们会慢慢来，可是我绝对会强调阅读和写字。We will do this slowly, but we will emphasize reading and writing, especially those of you who are interested in taking AP Chinese. Even if we will or will not offer as a course, you should be focused on reading and writing, okay? And SAT 2s with Chinese, same thing, you got to know how to read. Sealed by literacy, okay, same thing, you have to know how to read. So these are the examples. One picture character, 刀女较早立易不然增能慢胡 The placement of radicals. Previously, when learned about components of characters and where they are placed, there are rules for where to place radicals too. Let's look at the table to see how you learn the rules for placing radicals. Left of the character, 你狗名故都到家写草热想国区网画并追 Okay, 句型介绍. So here, as I told you, you do not see the tones for here and there's no translation. 怎么办? What do you do? Well, if you save this as the